welcome to part 14 of the SV650 rebuild. First job on the cards today was get rid of all the rust off the clutch release screw. This is possibly the worst part of the bike for rust, other than the subframe obviously. Don't know why. So started off with the wire brush, did it gently. I don't want to take too much off, just clean the top surface off really. Then took the GT85 and lubricated the inside of the clutch cable. Brought the clutch cable through from the handlebars, fitted the clutch release screw and refitted the cable. I was going to actually buy some new cables for this, but I thought, well, they're all operational, and why spend money on something that works fine? At the end of the day, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Heel guards, at the moment I'm going to use the standard ones, going to polish them up basically, make them all nice and shiny. My son did mention about carbon fibre ones, which I possibly will do at a later date, to be honest. I think they'll suit the look of the bike quite nicely, but for the time being, polish these up and make them look nice. It's quite a nice contrast with the polished aluminium against the black. Now this was quite funny because I used the polishing wheel and they look quite nice except for a few small scratches. So I took the auto sol out and give them a good auto soling, if that's a word. And they look worse than when I used the polishing wheel, which I don't understand, but hey, we'll get them back on the polishing wheel I think. Turn my attention to the other side, cleaned up the rear brake master cylinder and fitted it to the bike. Polished up the heel plate and fitted it all together. Bike's coming together quite nicely now, to be perfectly honest. I'm quite impressed with it. I keep thinking to myself, well, it shouldn't be too long now that we're finished, but when I look at it, I've got to do some body work. Got the new seat unit coming that I've got to try and fit, and there's still the brakes and everything else that I've got to pay for, so there is still quite a bit to do. But at least we're on the downward slope now and not the upward slope. But I think the first thing I need to do is actually tidy this bloody bench. I really am such a messy worker. But by the power of video, it only takes a couple of minutes. I wish. Boom, just like magic. Right, so I took my little multi-tool with the blade on and decided to chop a hole through my RGV 250 seat unit that I've bought. This was quite cheap compared to all the other ones. And I was sat in bed this morning at around about 3:30 AM thinking, how am I going to get this seat unit to fit? And then the old light bulb moment came along once again. Cut a hole out the middle, seat will fit in on the normal subframe, and then I can fit the normal SV seat.
So I exit to the left, no, now to the right. I got a phone in my pocket, feeling alright.
But now, like a knob, I can't think how to fit the seat unit onto the bike. If I'd have left a couple of lugs where the original seat unit screwed onto the frame, I'd have been in a slightly better position. But now I've made myself a little bit more work. So as a problem being in a smallish shed, trying to work out what you're going to do next, it's better to stand back and just have a nosy and think to yourself, does that look right? And unfortunately this time I'm in a quandary because I don't know whether it looks right or not. Had another epiphany moment, thought to myself while I was laying in bed, early doors once again, I could just take a couple of metal pieces, drill a hole in it, fit it to the seat, and then I can screw it onto the bike frame itself. Fiberglass the metal brackets onto the seat unit. Job's a good one. Once I've tidied it all up, then at least I can fit the seat unit and just see what it looks like. And unfortunately the SV seat is too wide, so it won't fit properly. Not a real issue, we'll just go back to using the proper SV seat unit. Next issue, couldn't get the tank unlocked. So had to take some drastic action with this one. Tried forcing a screwdriver down the lock to see if I could break it that way, but I've ended up having to drill the lock out. So that's another thing on the shopping list. Cleaned the rear master cylinder, fitted that, and then set to remove the tank pad. Done a separate video on this, so I'm not going to dwell on it. Now, I think this bike has had a respray at some time. When I was cleaning this tank pad off and I'd got the T-cut out, I noticed a few ripples in the paint on the tank. So we'll see what shows up once I start sanding it down, getting it ready for paint. Now I know that I'm not using the RG seat. I fitted the under tray onto the bike. Got a sort of way out on how to fix this to the bodywork since I've cut the grab rails off. I think it'll be a couple of self-tapping screws, and I may just be going with the little exhaust. Going to try and see if I can sort out a very short link pipe so I can have the stubby exhaust really low down. Time to turn my attention to the rear brake caliper. Again, this is another cheap buy off eBay, so I wasn't holding much hope out for this, to be perfectly honest. It was about half the price of all the others. But once I'd got the airline into the bleed nipple and popped the pistons out, I was quite pleasantly surprised. Now, I've ordered a new seal kit from, again, eBay, and was replacing all the new seals, bleed nipples, and spruce it all up to make it nice and clean. Okay, so after cleaning the pistons and cleaning and blowing out all of the brake caliper, dried it off thoroughly, fitted the new seals, greased up the nice clean pistons and fit them into the caliper. Did the same with the other half of the caliper, so we've got two nicely greased and clean pistons with new seals. Replaced the caliper bolts and then basically copper greased the pins up and fitted them. Quick wipe off just to make it look a bit better, and then there we are. We have one nice caliper. Just got to order some brake pads for it now, and I'll be able to bleed it all through and make sure everything works properly. I'll also do exactly the same with the front. I've got new seal kits coming for those as well, so I'm just waiting for them to arrive in the post. That's if Royal Mail don't go on strike again. So that will be basically it. We'll have a complete rolling chassis that will go and stop, except for chain and sprocket obviously. And then I can sort out the bodywork next. Looks like I am going in a completely different way to how I thought in the first place, but I am liking the look. Right, Right, well, I'll call that a wrap, and we'll leave this one there. Bike's coming along nicely, which I'm really pleased about. So all that's left for me to say is thanks for listening, thanks for watching, see you on the next instalment.